Hi friends, so after flirting with the idea for a little bit, I thought it would be good to do a midway check-in. Okay, so I should begin by saying that I'm a little bit further than midway. So my 60 days started, I think, the end of September. So I'm rather like 40 to 45-ish days in. I know I put 60 as the marker, but it's more of like a 2-month ballpark. I wanted to essentially be done before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's a very special time for me and our home, and the dogs agree. So, um, yeah, do we remember this from my first video talking about systems versus goals? Well, I thought I would just go over some of what I initially sketched out. I had to go and dig for this piece of paper because I also didn't want to be ruminating and being stuck on I have to do exactly what I wrote down. It was, let me put these ideas down on a piece of paper and free them from my mind, and what will become will become. And I knew I was going to check in, and my major focus was allowing myself the idea to constantly reevaluate and reassess and adjust as needed. I wasn't going to make a system that was based on the narrow success of any one goal over the other. And at the end, when you see my credits roll as to, a lot of these things look like they're goal oriented, and one might argue that they are. And I also might think that they are, but I allowed myself a wide variety of things that I knew that I could select from sort of as a menu option. And I know that my goal was that within 60 days, I wanted to do 60% of this list that would create a better system in functioning for a lifestyle for me and mental health, freedom. And I also knew that it would be a certain time span for that to become a healthy pattern and habit for me. But it also allowed me the variety of knowing that I didn't have to do everything. And so I just had to show up for what I could do. And allowing me that list was also a way to focus on it. So rather than feeling like everything needs to be done and fixed, I knew that I had a defined list, and if I stuck within that list of doing this little thing and that little thing, eventually it would build up if work into it, and at the end I would have what would be the leftover things that are still left to do, but I would also arrive at the system goal of just a slower paced lifestyle, more creativity in my life. And yeah, so it might seem like they're goals, and I've been checking them off, but that is sort of how I have gone through my system reassessment of, I sometimes need to visually see some things, but I also need to write things out to get them out of my mind. It's sort of like a way to unstick something for me. Yeah, so let's just go over what my list was. So I first talked about knowing where I am currently at, my current state. And then I asked myself these questions of, what is driving me and how do I feel most days, and am I content, and why this might be. So I think I identified, I'm looking at these sort of with you. I think I noticed my drivers elsewhere in this. How am I feeling most days? Well, I've had a weird event happen in the last 3 weeks, and I will say most days I have not been feeling great, and I think it stems from this particular event. But prior to that, I was feeling like lighter and more momentum and stuff. And yeah, so most days I had been feeling greater about the changes that were being made into my system and life performance. Am I content? I think I'm more content than where I was 2 months ago. And that's a plus. And then, so my drivers were for a better self outcome. I wonder what I meant by that. Day to day functioning and eased. Yes. So my drivers are still working for me with that one. My love for Caleb and having a better lifestyle mutual to the both of us. That is still a driver. Better lifestyle skills. Um, hmm. I this is it seems like that should be an easy answer. I'm gonna give myself a soft yes on that. So that driver is still working for me. Um, and then I'm looking at things like my pillars. So where were my pillars originally to where they're at now when I was looking at my economic self? I don't think there's been any changes there. There hasn't been really any changes to any of my pillars other than maybe just feeling a little bit more secure, based in structure, if that makes sense, and which is a good thing. Stop and refine the process to before my ideal state. So, I did take a quick peek at this before filming because I think that I have talked about stopping and I've addressed needing mental health days. And I have refined the process for me. I talked about the larger, wide open net for wanting the freedom of not being held down to any one particular goal with also defining something to pick from to not make it seem so vague and broad and open to get lost in, that could be overwhelming. And I have stopped to refine the process in a couple different ways. I have found out that I do not like filming home DIY. And I think that you'll actually notice a very sharp taper off in those types of projects. I actually really don't like home DIY in itself at all anyway. The only thing I really do like about it is the creative aspect to it. The demo aspect to it is very, um, it's it's a very harsh process for me internally. I get a lot of negative mental health anxiety and panic and energy draining from that process, not from the physical aspect, but from the emotional and like visual on like engagement with that, the living in the chaos and the disorganization and the um, breakdown of something that was somewhat functional to non-functional before it becomes like performing at its most efficient state, is it's just a hard place to be for me. So I really do not like home DIY. I do like the final outcome of it. And I like the creative process of building something together as a mutual home with Caleb, because I know that a lot of these decisions, I don't get to on my own. They're a product of him weighing in and me asking questions and me shifting from where I originally think I am to, or not having an opinion, to shifting to have an opinion, based on his feedback. And like, that's important to me. But doing the actual work is hard sometimes. It's overwhelming. Like I said, the demo part is very hard for me. And beyond that, dragging a camera around and filming those stages too is difficult. So I've learned that I don't like that. And yeah, I've also learned that while like filming and going over stuff, that there is a constant evolution of progress. And I talked about this in my one video where I did drag a camera around with me for the whole day, because I knew during that day that I had done a lot and I felt like I had done a lot, but at the end of the day, it looks like nothing really happened. It doesn't look like there was a lot of change really around me. But actually watching myself do things made me feel a little bit more self-worth, and gave myself a little bit more credit for what I can do when I am able to show up for a particular thing. So that was beneficial for me. And I will also say that I found through filming that I really need creativity in my life. I need it in different sectors, and I found that I really like doing the cooking part of when I'm like vlogging. I love sharing what I'm creating and exploring a new recipe, or sharing some of the things that we really love in our family for our family recipes. I'm really bad at the actual filming part, with the lighting and how far the camera is, but I found that I really like that. And I think where I would like to go after allowing myself, I'm not tied down with some of these DIY projects, is um, moving more into a grow to cook type of vlogging aspect for personal growth, and sharing the benefits of just stopping and enjoying what you can do with your own success and your own work, and what you're in control of, and that mindfulness of what you put into your garden and how that can benefit you in your kitchen. And I also have some really fun ideas for next year around filming things out in the garden space. I'm toying with the idea of maybe growing a lot more winter squash type of things and donating them to the food pantry. We've got a bunch of land and areas where it might be easy to stick some things in, but I'm going to ruminate on that for a little bit for a winter plan. But refining the process in my system, I have definitely highlighted something that I suspected early on of to be more functional, to be more secure, to be more productive in my day-to-day life. Creativity for me is key, and the permission and the felt freedom to be able to do that comes from not living in disorganization and chaos and a transitional state of being, or feeling like I'm buried down with certain things. And a lot of that is changing, and a lot of that comes from doing a little bit of the work, a little bit every day, and allowing myself to stop and slow down and engage with quality time in the evening. I've been making points to cook dinner on a regular basis, even if I'm not originally in the mood, to make sure that there's a hot meal for both Caleb and I. I make sure to spend a couple of nights where I log in and play video games, and sharing a lot more, and being able to share on different layers, which has felt a little bit easier since some of this stuff has happened. So with my refinement, I'm definitely noticing a lot of perks, and I'm also noticing things that I don't like. But I was talking about this little graph thing where it goes like up and down and up and down. And I will say that my downs seem to be less, and my ups seem to be gradual, smaller things. So that in itself is something that is working for me. So with all of this being said, as far as my update is concerned, I also, and talking about food and experiments and that kind of thing, and growing your own to the kitchen, we remember these pickles, and technically they should be pickled right now. I'm a little bit nervous about trying them, and I figure I would share that since I shared my first attempt at pickling the pickles. But before that, well, actually, I don't know. Let's just try these. Okay, so I have been swirling it a little bit every day, and this still looks gross to me. A lot of this settled down. I did tap and break the thing off, if you guys remember, but it is still pretty tight seal on here, and I don't know why I get so nervous about trying food. All right. Interesting. And hot and mushy. These are interesting. Do not like mushy pickles. Okay. Okay, so here's where I think I'm at with these. They're not great. They're like, I keep making a sour, puckery face. But yet I sort of want another one, but the texture is bad. Maybe it's just the brine. The brine's good. I think that, so as you guys remember, I used a pre-made pickling spice combo that has haunted me for years in the pantry. I buy it every year with the aspiration of making the pickles that I never actually pickle. And this year I pickled the pickles that I picked from my garden. And okay, I want another one, but I also don't. I wish I could. Well, I look forward to experimenting with these again next year. Maybe I'll fry some of these and see how that goes. Freeze them and then fry them. I think I'm gonna do that. So stay tuned. I might experiment with that in a video down the road. There's a good heat to these, which I like. The saltiness in the vinegar is really great. I can taste that celery salt that I made a point to add neurotically. Great. The clove, though, I think there's clove in this spice mix. It is not pleasant. And that's the thing that's off-putting up front, is the clove to me. A lot of people love clove. I'm not the biggest fan, but I knew that I was just gonna give this spice mix a go. So, and then the texture is off. The texture is just really off. So I have to look up how to make a crunchy, firm pickle. I also used a wedge, so maybe the whole pickles are different. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I think these might be good as fried pickles though. I will try that in an upcoming video, but as you can see, this is the creativity in my kitchen that sort of drives me. It makes me feel excited and happy. Just a little bit more fulfillment in my life. So going back to the original update of this video, where are you at with your systems? What have you been refining? What have you been working on? What have you looked back on your pillars, and are they still where they're at? Are they better, stronger? Are you noticing that some of your priorities in your current state of being to your ideal state have changed? Have they changed for a considerable amount of time that you look back on your previous current state and it feels like that was a different time? Let me know. Let's have a little chat and I'll hang out in the comment section down below. But yeah, as always, remember to grow from where you are, and I'll share more with you soon. Tschüss!